sound of that tractor means it's time for us to go to work. Welcome to the Give Us the Dirt podcast powered by Hoopah Grading Company. My name is Brandon Lindsay, and I am your host. So visiting us all the way from Nashville, Tennessee today, we've got a pretty special guest and someone that I'm sure many of you recognize already. He is CEO and Chief Dirt Nerd at Buildwit. We've got Aaron Witt with us today. Aaron and his team are literally revolutionizing the dirt world with their technology, their marketing strategies, and their training and development tools. Aaron has found a way to find beauty, opportunities, and stories in every construction site that he visits. He tells the stories behind the projects and the people. And in doing so, he's been able to address many of the issues facing our industry today. This isn't just a phase for Aaron. It's not a passion project that he's working on. He has actually been fascinated with moving dirt since he was 6 years old. I've had a chance to hear some of this story, and it truly is fascinating. He has traveled all over the world to capture these stories, and today his travels have landed him here in the Give Us the Dirt podcast studio. Aaron, it is a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for being here. That was pretty well said. You like that? I had to read it.
If you're looking for a spokesperson job, we'll give you a shot.
Good radio voice.
Yeah, come on down.
Aaron, you are used to driving these things. How's it feel being on the other side of a podcast?
I do this every once in a while.
Do you?
I like to drive because I get to be the curious one and learn. It's always weird talking and doing more of the explaining, and it just feels a little off, but I'm happy to be on this side of the table.
Well, you're cool as a cucumber here. I'm the one that's got a lot to live up to here. This is probably more stressful for me than it is you, but what's cool about today is you have, for the last 4 or 5 years, you've told stories about the industry. You've told other people's stories. Today we get to hear yours, and I'm excited. I've heard pieces of it, but I haven't heard all of it, so I'm hoping that we're able to dig out some pieces of that today and learn some more about you.
Sure.
We're going to talk about Buildwit. We're going to talk about the podcast. We're going to get to that, but we do something pretty unique here on the Give Us the Dirt podcast. We ask, instead of you introducing yourself to our audience, how would someone, let's say a family member, you've got siblings, how would someone introduce you to someone that doesn't know who Aaron Witt is? What would they say?
I would love to hear it from them, because I'm just as curious about that as you are. I have no clue, but I still think my family's a little confused about what I do, and they don't totally understand it, because I didn't create this widget here, and yes, look at the thing I created, or you can't really wrap your hands around what we're doing all that much. So they might just say, they might probably pull up my social media, my Instagram page, and probably just show them my Instagram page to explain what I do. Even though that doesn't explain it all that well, that's probably what they would do.
Well, that's probably a challenge for mom or dad to say, yeah, my son is making the dirt world a better place.
Yeah,
that's hard to explain.
Yeah, it was funny. I started the company. It was, let's just take pictures of bulldozers, and then 126, here we are. And I hadn't had anything physically to exactly show what I'd been working on for years. So you're just working years and years and years, and you can't ever say, you point to something, look at what I did, until we had the office. And I had my mom and my brother and my sister at the office for the first time when we moved in back in, it was almost done in August. And just to see them looking around and thinking, holy smokes, this is pretty legit. And me kind of sitting there and saying, yeah, I know. I've been working hard on it. I promise. I've been doing something.
This is what I've been telling you about. This is what I've been working on. Yeah.
But it took them a few years to, I think, start to even understand what the heck's going on here.
Wow. And so talk to us about the early years. Tell us where you're from. Tell us about growing up and when and how you fell in love with construction.
Yeah. So I grew up Phoenix, Arizona. My dad's a tax lawyer, so I didn't grow up with a dad or a grandpa or an uncle in the construction industry like a lot of people in the dirt world have. I grew up in a nice part of town. I would drive by construction projects when I'd be going to school or whatever it was. Always in love with construction from afar, but never intimately involved with it because I just didn't have the access that other people in the industry have had since they were 1 or 2 years old. So I was always digging in the backyard. I had my 6th birthday at the cat dealership, which was just a one-off thing because my dad was doing tax work with them and arranged it, and it was an awesome time. And so I grew up with a love for earth moving, for bulldozers, for construction, but never any experience with it hands-on. When I was about 14 years old, I took a loan from my friend's dad for a few $100s to go buy something for my aquarium at the time, which I say is a whole nother love of mine that I don't talk about very much. So I took a loan from him, and the condition was I had to go work up in Montana for him. And I'd been up to Montana almost every summer of my life, same place, but I'd never been there to work, 10 hours a day and doing manual labor. So I get my ass kicked for 10 hours a day, every single day for the first time in my life. And I start to sober up to the reality sitting in front of me. And that was, hey, you have the opportunity to go do anything. Don't screw it up. So I started to evaluate my life and what do I love? What do I enjoy? Well, I love bulldozers. I love dirt. How the heck do I do that? So there was a construction company working in my neighborhood back home. I go back home. I'm watching this construction project. It was an awesome construction project. It was 108-inch concrete pipe in a narrow street with a 385, digging and laying this pipe. It was awesome. And I watched it after school every day. I decided to call up the company doing the work, Pearson Construction Corporation, ask for Mr. Pearson. Hey, will Mr. Pearson be willing to sit down with me at his office? He said, sure. So I meet this guy, ask him how the heck he started a construction company, and then ask him for a job. And that's how I started out in construction a few years ago. So that's a little bit about my background.
How old were you at that time?
So when I asked him for a job, I was 17, and he couldn't legally hire me because you have to be 18 in the construction industry. So I waited until I was 18 and then kept pestering him again until he said, all right, sure, fine, I'll give you a job as a laborer. And so I started out on a pipe crew for the job in my neighborhood, which was pretty unique.
I think that's a really cool thing that I don't know that everyone understands about you. Like you wear the Chief Dirt Nerd title, and you read a lot, right?
A lot of reading.
But your knowledge of construction doesn't just come from the books. You've been in the business. You've done this. Matter of fact, you were doing construction when you started Buildwit.
Yeah, you get all these comments online, and some of them the other day was like, you don't know what you're talking about. You need to start as a laborer before you know anything. And I'm just kind of chuckling to myself thinking, well, that's exactly where I started.
What I did, yeah.
I was a laborer in Phoenix, Arizona in the summer for a few years, and I've been around that block, and I don't know much, but I know enough about it to at least have the sense of humility it gives you.
Yeah. No, I think that's, and do you get a lot of those comments? That bugs me when you say that you get those comments right there.
I get them, but I don't get them as much anymore because I'm pretty quick to admit I don't know what I'm doing. So when someone says you don't know what you're doing, it doesn't go very far because it's like, well, I've already said that. I've already admitted I don't know what I'm doing. So you're just being redundant here. And I every once in a while, but I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it.
That's a great strategy. It's hard to argue with somebody if they agree with you.
That's the thing. Every time someone says something rude, I'll just agree. I'll be like, yeah, you're completely right, dude. I spot on, like excellent assessment. And then what do they do?
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah. It's a dead end.
Tell me about Buildwit. So when did you start? Was it 2018?
Yeah, 2018. So I graduated college 2017. While I was in college, I went to work for 5 different construction companies. So a different company every year. Worked as a laborer. I did a little bit of operating. I did some field engineering with Skanska and Witt, some bigger firms. I worked for 2 years during the school year in an estimating office, so I got that experience. Went to work road construction out of school. Plan was go get some experience, save up some money, buy a backhoe, and just let it rip. But just before I graduated, I started sharing some of my pictures and experiences from my brief amount of time in the industry so far online, because I saw there was a gap. There was a lot of great storytelling out in the world, but there wasn't great storytelling in the dirt world, in this industry I loved and was engaged with every single day of the week at the time. So I thought, why don't I fill that void and tell my story in a high quality manner? Use well thought out language, use good storytelling techniques, use great imagery and great videos, and really get people engaged. So I start doing that. I go to work in road construction. A software company, HCSS, finds me. They have a program to inspire the next generation. I go to work for them. It doesn't go as planned. So I say, you know what? Why don't I just go tell stories on my own? So when less than a year out of college, quit, moved back to Arizona, start Buildwit. And the business model of Buildwit was, I'm going to run around, I'm going to message people on the internet, ask to come out to their job sites, take pictures of their job sites, and see if they're going to pay me for them.
That was the strategy.
That was the strategy. So I started feverishly messaging every company that was on social media at the time. And it was just 4 years ago, but not much of the industry was on social. Nobody was. Yeah. Nobody. But that was the good thing, was the ones that were the early adopters and saw the value in it. So a lot of the companies that were on at that time were pretty open to having me out. And so pretty quickly I got into some amazing operations and started to actually create a business out of nothing.
See, that's one of the things that is very intriguing to me about you, is that you hear right brain, left brain people. You've got the right brain people. You're analytical, logical, very science, math based. And you got these left brain people that are creative and artistic, and you kind of got both sides of the equation there. You started this thing with your creativity, with the art and telling the stories and the pictures and everything, but you've also got that other side too that you're able to bridge.
Yeah, I think everybody has a little bit of both if they choose to have a little bit of both. I view myself as really logical. Like, I went to engineering school. But I ended up starting my business with a camera, doing photography, but I don't consider myself a photographer. I don't have any real interest or love and passion for photography. I have passion for telling stories about bulldozers, heavy equipment, talking to blue collar people, and my camera gets me into that position. So that's why I'm in love with it. But I'm not necessarily in love with photography. I don't go and take pictures of sunsets. I don't care. I don't care about taking pictures. I care about being on site, telling stories, getting people engaged about the dirt world.
You hit on something that I think is very interesting and very important to why you've been able to experience some of the success that you have at Buildwit, and is that things like marketing, PR, branding, technology, like those things, they're not new, right? They've been around forever, but in the construction industry, it's relatively new. Yeah. We have not looked at those things as tools that we need to grow our business until now.
The construction industry is just behind. We're a decade plus behind a lot of these other industries, and that's why we're getting trounced by all these other industries from a workforce development standpoint. And so we're like Buildwit, we're not doing anything novel at all. We're bringing these proven tools and strategies to a place where it is novel, and just doing it in a world where it's never been done before. But that's the problem. It hasn't been done before, which is partially why the industry is in the problem it's in. It hasn't told its story. And what a lot of the industry doesn't understand is that they think I'm just going to go hide under a rock and do my thing. I'm good to go. No one even knows. There's no problems here. And so they go under their rock and they think there's no story being told or anything, and they're better off just beneath their rock. The problem is there's always a story being told. There's always a narrative, whether you're the one in control of it or not. So they have given up control of the narrative, gone under their rocks, and then the narrative has just gone out of control. And what's the narrative? Well, everybody should go to college. Well, blue collar work sucks. Well, you work in construction? Why is that? And that's a bad narrative. And a lot of times it's completely untrue. And yet we as an industry haven't controlled it. So we shouldn't necessarily be sitting there scratching our heads wondering how this has happened. We have allowed it to happen. We've been the ones that have created the problem we're facing to begin with.
I think that's so interesting. If you don't tell your story, someone else will.
There's always a narrative. It's like, I use the example of me and you. So say someone says, this guy sucks. I don't know you. And they sound pretty compelling about it. I'm like, yeah, this guy does suck. That's a pretty compelling point to me. But say I've worked with you for 3 years, have all of this data to suggest that you don't suck. This guy comes along and says you suck. I can very quickly dismiss that point as untrue because I have the proper narrative story about you. But that's what's happened. Like these construction companies, for example, they go fire these people. These people go tell these terrible stories about the construction company. There's nothing to compare it to. So yeah, that company must suck.
And then we complain that we can't find people.
Yeah.
Right.
It's when you put it in a simpler term, you're like, yeah, that's ridiculous. But that's where most of the industry's at. You have multi-billion-dollar companies, not on social media. Some companies don't even have a website still. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
So do you see that more and more companies are opening up to that? Like they're becoming receptive to these things?
Yeah, absolutely. Because they have to.
Why?
Workforce development.
People.
And the companies really change when they start to hurt and when there's pressure to do so financially. There has not been pressure to change financially up until now, and it's just starting to get there, and it's only getting worse. And so they're looking around and they're starting to sweat a little bit like, whoa, we need to do things differently. And as the pressure gets greater and greater and greater, the change is only going to accelerate, which is really exciting. That's where the industry needs to go. And I think everybody's going to win as a result. And that's the opportunity Buildwit's looking at. So I see it as a fantastic thing, but it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to require the industry to do things completely differently, do things that we've never done before.
And I love that that's part of your message. Like, this is going to hurt for a little while. Mm-hmm. We've got some work ahead of us. This is going to be painful, but that pain is why we're here. That pain is what's causing us to look at, changing that story and that narrative that's going out about our industry. And Buildwit's moving into that space, that void that's been there. That's where you guys are at, and you've identified that, which I think is brilliant, and I think it's desperately needed. But you're experiencing the growth already. This wasn't like, hey, this is going to take forever. Like, as soon as you guys started it and you started talking about this stuff, like, people were, yeah, I want that. I need that.
Totally. Yeah,
Tell me about the growth you've experienced. So since 18, is that right?
2018, yeah. We've been around for over 4 years now. So
how has it changed since 18?
Well, it started with me and a camera. That was my big capital expense, was a $3,000 camera that I destroyed 2 weeks later, left it on the roof of a car, drove off. No. That was awesome. So that was my big capital expense, and I just started running around and real low overhead. And then someone asked for a website or something like that. I think it was a website. So then I call up Dan Briscoe, who runs the company with me now, right. And he was the VP of marketing for the company I had left before, and asked, how do I build a website? I don't know how to do that. And so he finds a contractor for us, and he starts helping out, and then we keep getting asked for video, and now, oh shoot, I think I need to hire a video guy and maybe another. So I hire a video guy, I hire someone else to help me with photos. Now we need a designer. And then all of a sudden, after 2 years, we've built a marketing agency specializing in the dirt world. And then we ask ourselves, how can we have a bigger impact in the dirt world? Okay, great. Our mission isn't to make a great marketing agency. Our mission is to make the dirt world a better place. To do so, we're going to have to reach across the whole industry. How do we do that? We do that with training and development. So let's go create something called Buildwit Leaders. Let's go get Jocko. Let's sit Jocko down in a room and let's talk to Jocko about, hey, Jocko, I'm a foreman. I'm in this position. What would you do? Oh, I would do this, that. Let's get it on video. Let's put it out into the industry, and let's get this information into the hands of everybody. And then the industry said, can you do this, but with elementary training too? And we said, sure. So now we've ended up as, shoot, now we're a software company. Now we're getting into training and development. And so we've grown from me with the camera to we're over 80 people now. And we're just getting going. We haven't even touched the potential that's in front of us.
That's incredible. I mean, you just doubled in size within the last few months.
Yeah. So we made it 3 years with no investment. We took on investment in this past year, which has allowed us to grow a lot faster than we'd previously been growing.
Did you anticipate this kind of growth?
No, but I'm also not surprised.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing. I've always been I want to go make the dirt world a better place. To do that, I'm going to need a very large organization. It is not just going to be me there's just no possible, this. You're nothing without the organization around you. The greater that organization is, the more human capital you have access to, the cooler and bigger things you can do as a team. It's the same thing with us. We're going to need a big team with a lot of diverse perspectives and capabilities to actually go influence the change we want to create.
Let's talk about this mission. You've mentioned it a couple times here. Make the dirt world a better place. And so I want you to talk about that a little bit and tell us what that means, because Aaron, you're a vision guy. You're a big vision guy. Matter of fact, I've had the opportunity to hear pieces of your vision, and it's fascinating. But visionaries have a gift, and that gift is you get to see the creation before it's created. Mm-hmm. And so open that up to us a little bit and to the listeners right now. Like, pull back the curtain and tell us, what does a better dirt world look like? What does that mean?
It's a good question, and we haven't really been able to answer it up until now, funny enough. So we've always known that we were going to make the dirt world a better place. We created it 3 years ago. I teach the mission class for our onboarding every 2 weeks. I'm very excited about our mission. We created it in an Airbnb when it was 5 of us 3 years ago, but we didn't quite know how we were going to do that. But we've always kept that in mind. We're here to make the dirt world a better place, make the dirt world a better place. But we've now started to see the bigger picture. After collecting all of this data, after going to hundreds and probably thousands of job sites at this point and meeting thousands of people, and I've been going to 40 states a year for the past 4 years, and I was just in the Middle East, and I'm going to Switzerland next month, and we get to see a lot of the dirt world, not just the United States. So we've seen all of this. And we have looked in, okay, what is making the dirt world a better place look like? It starts with people. It starts with workforce development. Like we were talking about earlier today. The dirt world has all of these problems that we can solve. And solving all of these problems is going to make it better. But what is the root problem? People, workforce development. If we don't figure that problem out, none of our other problems matter. So if we want to truly make it a better place, we need to start with the bottom of the pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid is, how do we attract the next generation? How do we make sure that people show up to work in the industry inspired? How do we change the negative perception problem so that mothers are cool with their kids going into the dirt world? How do we do those things? Let's focus on people. Let's go build a business that focuses on people from multiple angles, connecting people, educating people, inspiring people, helping companies get better at investing in their people. Create a business that is revolving around growing, investing, nurturing people in the dirt world, solve that problem, and then we can go on to the next one. But until we figure that out, there's nowhere else to go.
I couldn't agree with you more. And we've experienced that. We've talked about that. We've experienced that too, and we've committed to investing back in people. But when you look at that, it seems that's a very daunting task, right? And most business owners say, look, I'm willing to invest in this, but they're not willing to invest back into the people, because that is a longer return on that.
So it's not that they're not willing to. And this is what I was, my first year or two in business, I was overly critical. I was the young buck, like, hey guys, like, are you stupid? Come on. It's so obvious. Like, you guys don't know what the solution to your problem really is here. And it surprisingly didn't go very well for me, because these are all very highly accomplished people with big businesses sitting here looking at me, this kid with nothing to prove, nothing to my name. What the hell do you know? And it's not that these people don't want to care for their people, invest in their people, solve their workforce problem. It's just that they don't know how. Right. They just don't have the tools. They just don't even know where to. It's a daunting problem. They don't even know where do I even start? And that's what exactly the opportunity Buildwit is looking to go after. We're going to go build those tools. Hey, you want to invest in your people? You want to solve your workforce problem? Well, Here's our tools.
Here's the playbook.
Yeah, here's the playbook.
Yeah.
And start with any one of these. There's not even a right place to start. Let's just start somewhere. And let's just start going on the journey together and figure this out together. Because you guys know it's not an impossible problem to solve. It took you guys 5 years to figure it out. That's not that much time. And especially there's companies out there with 100+ years of history. 5 years to figure out your biggest problem and to secure the next 50+ years, that's a pretty easy investment to me. And okay, great. Maybe they don't want to invest. They don't have a choice.
No, you're going to have to, or you're going to be left behind.
The market is going to force their hand even if they don't want to. And then if they still don't want to, they go away, someone else picks up the market share.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And that's a great point too. And I agree with you. People in this industry, they do want to invest in people. They do want to give back, and they know the importance of it. But your point, they don't know how.
Yeah.
And we didn't really know how either. We just started trying things, and some of them worked, and some of them didn't, and we kept moving forward. But it is a long process, and I think that's the thing that we've got to get our minds around, is that this isn't an easy button. You can't go in and just build an academy and all of a sudden everything's going to change. Like it's telling the story. It's changing the perception of the industry. It's training, development, branding, all these things that Buildwit's offering. Like it takes it all.
That's it. And that's why, with the growth of our business, why don't you guys just focus on one thing and just do it well? Well, again, if I wanted to make a stupid profitable business, I could in any one of the areas we're focused in, but that's not the point. The point is to make the dirt world a better place. And I see the window closing in on us a little bit. There's some urgency there. So we need to act and we need to swing big to solve this problem. So that's why we're going after in providing not just one tool, but as many tools as we can, because it's going to take all of them to make it better.
Well, in a way, you are focusing on one thing. That one thing is the people, but it requires all these different components that you guys are bringing to the table: the training, the development, the hiring, the recruiting, the onboarding, all these other things, and software. Like all that goes to developing your people.
And that's hard because everybody's different.
Yeah.
So that's why there's all of these solutions for everything else, for telematics and GPS and estimating and all of these solutions out there that are great tools, but no one's really attacked the people angle because it's really complex, it's really complicated, and it's just going to take a lot, and it's going to take a multi-prong approach. And that's why we think we have a good shot at it.
Well, and it's going to take all of us working together, which is that's something that we haven't been good at as an industry that we've got to get better about. Let's talk about this podcast. So you've got the Dirt Talk podcast. I mean, you're kind of a big deal, Aaron.
I don't know about that. But
no, it's funny, just walking you around here at HGC, people coming up, oh, that's Aaron Witt. That's Aaron Witt. I mean, that's got to be a little bit weird, right? Even when I came to the office in Nashville and saw it the first time, I remember peeking around the corner and I saw you working at your desk there, and I was like, I think that's him. That's the guy. So how have you dealt with that?
It would be more weird if everybody wasn't so cool about it.
Yeah.
Because it's a very macho industry, and I don't think you can get too excited about things.
Right.
So I'll hear secondhand how excited people are about what we're doing, but when it's face to face, I would never know it. It's just another dude saying, "Oh, yeah, hey, I've seen some of your stuff online," and I'll find out after the fact they've been seeing everything we're doing and this and that, and
they're gonna play it cool though.
It's funny, but that wasn't ever the point. That's not why we're doing it, but I'm leaning into it because I know that I can use my perspective, my voice to get the word out about the industry. And I'm a big part of making the dirt world a better place, and I can bring everybody together. So it's not about me, but I'm in a unique position to bring the industry together. So I need to lean into it.
Well, you are. And, we hear all the time about influencers and people that build these large followings, and they become influencers, and they have those platforms to be able to influence behaviors. And you're an influencer, but I mean, you're an influencer in a blue collar space.
Yeah, and I struggle with the term influencer because I think it's been twisted into this. You create a big following so that you can just make money for yourself, essentially, is the play, which is an awesome play. They all make way more money than I do. but that's not my play. So sure, am I an influencer? Am I trying to influence behavior, influence people? Absolutely. But I don't make any money on on what we do on social media or the podcast.
Yeah.
We're just hemorrhaging money on the podcast because we have 3 people dedicated to the podcast plus all the time I dedicate to it. We don't have advertising. We don't get paid for it. No one pays to be on it. We don't make any money on it, but it contributes to that mission. It adds up in that bigger picture sense. So it's a no-brainer for us. It's like investing in your people, right?
Yeah. You
don't see that immediate return, but that's not the point. It makes the whole thing work at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just another platform for you to be able to share these stories on. And I was I wrote down some of the numbers, but these numbers are already worthless because it's probably gone up another 100,000 followers while we've been sitting here talking.
Yeah, we reach a lot of people across the board. The podcast is crazy though because it's the podcast has really changed the dynamic because it's so intimate and people feel like they know you, and which is pretty cool. Because they've spent so much time with you. And it's the perfect medium for the blue-collar world, too, because there's so much windshield time. So they can just put it on while they're cruising to work or while they're sitting in a dozer, pushing in a fill.
True.
Just throw on Dirt Talk, man. So we get about 100,000 downloads a month now.
Wow,
and
that's incredible.
It's actually working quite well. It's a pleasant surprise.
What is the biggest misconception that you hear about starting a career in the construction industry?
I think just the biggest misconception overall is that it just sucks. It just sucks.
I mean, people believe that, right?
Yeah, people believe that, and it's just not true. I don't know when it was, but someone said, if you were to offer me. If I were to offer you a job at a tech company with these cushy benefits, amenities, this and that, or go work at a contractor, you would obviously choose the tech company. And in the back of my head, I was sitting there quickly saying, no, I wouldn't, because I've been around the construction industry. I know it suits me as a human being, my personality, what I like to do. And I've actually worked at a tech company and I was miserable at a tech company. I want to be in the construction industry. And I have no business being here. I was raised by a tax lawyer. I'm supposed to be at the tech company. I'm supposed to be a lawyer, but I'm here in the construction industry. It's a really cool place. And I think it's a cool place for a lot of people out there. They just don't know it's a cool place. And it's on us to educate them on, hey, it's actually a cool place. But I'm super optimistic. I don't think this is an insurmountable problem because what these other industries, I've been looking at what kids are really into. Kids, so I didn't know this until the other day. The number 1 app in the world by time on app is Roblox. It's a video game that kids play and they get to build stuff. That's essentially the premise of the game. The biggest toy company in the world, Lego. You build things. Humans, we like to create, we like to build, we like to be creative. But then we enter the education system and we just get that beaten out of us. No, you need to do science and math and you need to do STEM because that's the future. And software, okay, maybe that applies for some people, but there's still that creative building that's so aligned with human nature as proven by what kids love to be doing that I think still applies to human beings. We just get it beaten out of us within the middle. So how do we reconnect those dots? I think it's possible. So I think that big misconception is the industry sucks. It's just not true. Is it perfect? No, there's a lot of problems in this industry. I mean, you want to talk about divorce, drug addiction, alcoholism, and there's a lot of terrible things happening as far as the lifestyle is concerned that need to be addressed. Workout, I mean, it's just, it sucks sometimes to see. So we need to fix that as an industry, but overall, this is a great place to be.
I agree. And people need to hear that message. They may not hear it. We don't have 100,000 downloads, but that message needs to be shared on a wide scale. That people need to hear that because we are our own worst enemies about telling our story and creating this perception that it sucks. And it doesn't. I love it. And everyone here loves being in construction. So Let me ask you this. So we're huge believers of extreme ownership here at Hoopah Grading Company. Brian and I actually teach a class where we talk through the 12 principles. I know that's one of the pillars that you've built a lot of your training and development on. Why extreme ownership? Why the relationship with Jocko, the Echelon Front Group? Why have you built that into your...
Because it's just such a simple concept. And that was one of the books that I read, and it just immediately clicked like, yeah, check. That makes sense. Okay. And you just don't see life the same after you understand that concept. And not only is it important for me to observe extreme ownership as an individual, as a company to extreme ownership, to observe it, to build it into our culture, but that's what we need from the industry. We need the industry to take extreme ownership of the workforce problem, because without that, we are not going to fix it.
Yeah, there's no one else to blame.
There's no one else, and there's no one coming to save us.
Right. There's
no one. There's no plan B here. And then we can't just be like buggy whip manufacturers. Oh, so the car came out, I guess we're just going to go out of business. What happens when the dirt world just goes out of business? Hey, sorry guys, we can't get you drinking water anymore. Hey, I know you like roads, but could you just stay at home just permanently? Because we can't actually build those roads for you anymore. Or shoot, I don't know where you're gonna live. We actually can't build the subdivision. That's not an option. Are you kidding me? That's insane. We have to figure it out, but we're not going to be able to figure it out without that extreme ownership, without sitting here and saying, well, hey, yeah, we have had a really good run at it, and we have built great companies, and we have had a great time building the industry in this way. And that's not to say it's wrong. It's not wrong. It's been right for a very long time. However, the world has changed and is changing at only a faster rate from here on out. And we're going to have to start to change with it, or else we're toast. And that's not an option. So I think it's such a big deal. It's just a life changer overall. But I think it's where the industry needs to start. We're not going to be able to address the workforce problem and make the dirt world a better place without just taking extreme ownership for the problem to start. That's the starting point.
I agree. It's probably the most powerful leadership book I've ever read.
And simplest.
It's the simplest.
It's just easy.
Now, I will tell you, my daughters and my wife, when I drop extreme ownership around the house, they're about to kill me. Mm-hmm. If I start channeling Jocko at home and I say, well, let me tell you what Jocko would say about that. They're done with it.
Yeah.
They're over it.
Yeah.
But it is powerful, and it's so simple. But it starts with us looking in the mirror.
Yeah. And when we wanted to teach leadership, to the industry, we didn't sit down and, yeah, you know what? Buildwit's going to be the leadership expert of the dirt world. No. That's insane. I'm 27. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So what did we do? We went to Jocko and Echelon Front. They're experts on leadership, proven, in combat through the SEAL teams and other branches of the military, law enforcement, and said, hey, can you guys help us out with this? And they said, yeah, that sounds pretty good to us. We'll help you out. And then now it's entirely free. Anybody can go look at all of the Jocko content we created today on the Buildwit app. We don't charge for it. We're not smart enough to monetize it. So go use it, because all of that stuff is how we're building our business, is how we're growing our business so quickly, is because we're building it on that foundation. So it's awesome stuff, and anybody can go consume it right now.
Oh, it is awesome. You need to check it out. We spent a lot of time on it, and the fact that you've provided it as a free resource is incredible. Because I'm sure it wasn't free to you. So
no, it absolutely was not free. Yeah.
All right. So this is the part where we ask you to give us the dirt a little bit. We're going to dig a little deeper. So you've traveled all over the world. You've seen construction sites all over the world. Do you have one that just stands out? A project, a job site that just stands out to you in your travels?
Honestly, I really love them all. We just get to see such a wide variety. Landfills are over here, and landfills are cool. But then I go to steel mills, and steel mills are cool. Then I go to coal mines, and coal mines are cool. And then I go see residential projects and even just pipe. It's like, that's where I started. I love pipe. But I guess this year, the projects we saw in Saudi Arabia were just, the scale was mind-boggling. There was one project where just in one part of this one project, they're moving 400 million yards.
Wow.
400 million, I think 400 million cubic meters, actually. So more than that in yards with over 5,000 machines. You stood up on a pile of dirt looking out over the whole horizon, and it's just hundreds of excavators and trucks, and it's just someone stepped on an ant pile, just flattening the earth to go build a city from scratch. You're sitting here like, this is pretty wild. You don't see this stuff in the United States.
I don't even have a point of reference for something that big.
No, it's insane. They're doing what Dubai did in the 90s. Hey, we need to diversify our economy. Well, let's go spend on infrastructure. Well, we want it to be a big deal. So let's go really spend on infrastructure, and let's go just build a whole new cities from scratch. Yeah, great idea.
I bet that was incredible to see. When did you do that trip?
January.
Wow.
The first trip of the year. So
let me ask you this. And you said nothing was off limits. So you personally, Aaron, there's been a lot of sacrifice to do this. I mean, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy. Do you sleep?
I sleep 8 hours a night.
Do you really?
I sleep very well.
What has been the most challenging part of this journey for you personally?
It's definitely like the bitter pill I've had to swallow is it's okay, great. I want to go make the dirt world a better place. And that's a hell of an undertaking. Yeah. And that's going to require quite a bit of effort and quite a bit of focus. So I can't really do a whole lot more. And when you start a company or go all in on a career or a craft or whatever it is, people say, well, there's sacrifice. You're like, yeah, come on. I'm ready to go, man. And then you start to pay the price in, lost relationships or trouble, like I've, trouble with my parents or whatever it is. And it starts to be really, really bitter, or even just seeing everybody else your age messing around, living it up and kind of scratching your head like, not that I want that, but I'm still a young male and I still very much, my mind wanders and that like, what the hell am I doing? So I think that's been the bitter pill I've had to swallow for 4 years. And I've mostly choked it down at this point. I'm actually alarmingly focused on where I'm at right now, which I think is a good thing, but also it's like, whoa, I'm really in on this right now. But there's a cost to that. And I didn't really understand that getting into it. And it's honestly, compared to other people, it's not even that high of a price. And then the other side of the coin is, I'm in therapy. I've been going to therapy every other week for a few years now. So I talk about it all the time. I don't think it's unhealthy because it's like, I'm in my 20s. I've got nothing better to do. And if I do this, go full send on this, how many people can I care for the rest of my life? We're going to be good to go. And so I've gotten to a point, and I think I'm so focused on it now where it's like, easy trade, man. Just go all in on this now so that you have a lot of options down the road. So if you actually go help make the dirt world a better place, what does your future look like? What can't you do? How many people can't you go impact and affect? Like the number I'm most proud of at our company is how many people we have on our payroll, because that is how many lives that I have the opportunity to intimately impact every single day of the week. And then not only their lives, but their families, their communities, everything from them. So not only are we impacting the dirt world, we're impacting all of the lives that are just within our business. It's really, really special. Yeah. So I don't second guess it at all, but it's taxing sometimes.
Oh, I can't imagine. And I appreciate you being so candid about that. And you've been pretty open too about, the therapy and how important that's been for you. As a CEO, you've got very few people that you can go to and just be open with and just lay it out there. And so outside of, therapy, do you have people in your lives that you lean on those days where you're struggling with it, or mentors that have kind of guided you through this?
I've got a lot of people in my court. A lot of them are just within the business. Like just me and Dan, we've been in the trenches for 4 years. He's been there right with me the whole time. Just slugging as much as I am, and I'm surrounded by really, really good folks. And Even with family, it goes up, it goes down, and it goes down. You're like, I gotta do a little bit better here. So yeah, I have great people, and therapy's been essential too. I think it's so valuable to have a completely an unbiased perspective. And there is some bias there, but just a different perspective outside of your world that doesn't know anybody that's not involved in any of your problems like you are, to just talk to every it doesn't matter who you don't have to be running a company. I think it should be for every single human being, because it is so beneficial. It's like, I view it as a huge competitive advantage, because my head's just more clear than the next guy. And if I have to go against that next guy, I can probably cope with things mentally that they might not be able to, because I've put in the work mentally. It's like going to the gym. I go to the gym, make my body strong. I have to go to therapy, even though a lot of times I don't want to go, to keep my mind where it needs to be so that I can focus on what I need to focus on.
I think that's a great message. And no different than the one that you're saying at Buildwit. Like, you cannot achieve your goals as a company without focusing on the number one thing. That foundation is the people. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to achieve your goals as a person without focusing on your mind and your mental health, and just making sure that you're prepared to go do all these things that you've set out in front of you. So
that's it.
That's great. All right, last question. What's next? Tell us. I know you probably can't tell us everything. You probably hold some secrets back, but what is it? What's next for Buildwit?
So, I'll just give you the big picture. Big picture, we're pushing hard into software. So we're launching our Buildwit training platform in April, and that's just in a few weeks as we're recording this. So that's going to be sold to companies in the industry to help more effectively train their people, video-based custom platforms specifically for the dirt world. We're going to be developing a social media app to connect the people of the dirt world, because I've talked to a lot of my friends in the industry. They're sick and tired of the traditional social platforms, and they want something for this industry. We're going to go create that. So that's the software side. We're doubling down on media. How can we go tell more stories about the industry without restrictions? How can we just go tell great stories? How can we start producing kids shows? How can we do documentaries? How can we spend a month on a job site just documenting the day-to-day on a job site to give people an insight as far as what goes on to go build a bridge, for example? So that's media. And then services, we're going to still go full bore on marketing, but we're also going to start to go into consulting. Let's go build a group of consultants that have been around the block, that do know what they're doing. And instead of just giving them the opportunity to intimately impact one company, it's like, hey, yeah, you've done that for this company. That's great. Let's go do it for the whole industry. And that's not just marketing, branding, technology. That's engineering. That's accounting. That's law. That's estimating. Just help companies operate their businesses more effectively. And then lastly, I really want to build what I'm calling the Dirt World headquarters. And that's a physical place. Everybody, if you've been to Con Expo, you'll likely sit there and think, I love Con Expo because I get to connect with other people that do what I do. But that's once every 3 years. What if we built a physical place in Nashville that connected contractors, connected people in the dirt world every single day of the week? That would be really cool. Offered training, offered leadership training, offered classes, events, have live podcasts there. Bring your kids in. We have simulators. Throw them on there. Have fun. I think it'll be awesome. And then our company will be there too. So if you want to learn more about Buildwit, yeah, here we are. Here's our video studio. Here's our podcast. Sure, whatever you want to know. So that's what's in front of us, and it's a lot. But fortunately, I'm just the big idea guy.
I know there's 80 people back in Nashville right now thinking, oh my gosh.
I'm just the idiot that gets to talk about it. Fortunately, we have a lot of very, very, very brilliant and talented people that are going to be the ones executing upon it and just growing well beyond just that vision.
It always, I've heard you talk about this a few times now, and it's just mind-blowing to hear you talk about the size of this vision. I mean, you're talking about Disney World for dirt contractors and for the grading world. And
I'm not so naive to think that making the dirt world a better place is easy and simple and we're going to be able to do it with 10 people. It has to be. We have to have a grand vision. We have to build a grand business that connects the industry to actually go we're serious about it. It's not just some words on our wall. It's not just this snappy little, oh yeah, wow, that sounds great. Let's throw it up on the wall to make ourselves feel. No, we're actually going to go do that, But to do it is going to take a massive lift. We're going to need a massive vision. And me too, as somebody building the company, my vision needs to be so big that everybody else's vision can fit within it. Right? I mean, that's what you're doing at a business. You guys are leading this company. You need to go cast this vision so big that all 670 plus of your people can fit within that. That's a lot of space you got to create, because you've got a lot of great people within that space and they need room to run. So that's my job. I'm trying to do my best.
And you're doing it well. You're doing it well. And Aaron, thank you so much for being with us today. Thanks for coming to Charlotte, hanging out with us. I hate that we didn't get to take you to job sites today, but we came face to face with one of the realities of our business, which was rain.
Yeah, I'm used to it at this point.
Yeah, so we'll have to have you back and do that. But Aaron, I want to thank you first off for just all that you are doing for our industry. Thank you for bringing attention to some very real issues and being part of the solution. So we look forward to not just watching you make the dirt world a better place, but joining you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm excited to have you guys along for the ride. So,
thanks again for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Give Us the Dirt. Our podcast is powered by Hoopah Grading Company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and produced by Well Run Media and Marketing. Visit our website at giveusthedirtpodcast.com and subscribe to this podcast on Apple and Google so you never miss an episode.